Like when you hear George Carlin, you're like, if there's a Mount Rushmore for comedy, Carlin's on it. He didn't want that. He did not have an interest in being a comedian.
Did he want to be an actor?
He wanted to be Danny fucking Kaye. He wanted to dance and sing in movies and be a charming fucking leading man.
Damn,
and so he couldn't get that. He backed into fucking being George Carlin, the comedian and stuff. And yet everyone's like, if I could be that guy or whatever and stuff. And the redefinition of who you think you are from what you know you are is an important part of every person's growth process. I'm talking like, would have been important for your mom and dad had they been given the chance. Like if they didn't just have to work and fucking put food on the table. They should allow America should allow like a 10 or 20 year retirement plan where it's like 10 years in any job, you get to take 1 month or 6 months off to go fucking figure out, do I still want this? Do I still want to be this person?
That's a great idea.
Is there something? And I know it's like some people are like, fucking bitch, I'm three jobs. I ain't got time to wonder what I want to be. But that's such an important part of it, man. It's like so many people get caught in the trap of like, I got to put fucking dollars on the table, food on the table and shit, and forget to dream. That's how you get to be in a place.
I love how you said that. I love what that means. I love redefining who you are, because once I realized that I was defining myself as an actor, and I realized that I was more of a comic. And once I let go of that definition, guess what? I started working all the time.
Crazy.
I never
silly
stopped working.
goose.
Yeah.
Like you like to be silly.
Yeah, and once I embraced that, my dramatic side, everything else kind of like came out, and I guess I actually have never stopped working since I kind of conquered, or at least changed the definition of what I am, which is in the business of self-expression, original self-expression.
Which is tough to identify with. A lot of athletes struggle with it. And I was having this conversation with a fighter the other day. It might have been Rampage, and we were talking about these older fighters wanting to fight like a Matt Hughes, a guy who retired years ago. And I went, I think it's because all they do is identify with being that fighter at the time. They've never found anything else that lights their fire. There's no other passion for them. So, of course, they want to come back and fight because it's all they know. It's literally all they know. They've never thought of doing anything else. When they do, it might be late,
It's the idea is, especially if anyone gives you enough attention in life to be like, hey, what you do in this thing is great. I understand the path some take where they're like, well, I'm going to devote myself to this sort of excellence. But spin a bunch of plates, because some shit ends, and if you're trapped in it, like you're stuck with it. Know that there's other things you can pivot to.
Well, you're
spinning the same plate, similar, right? Like
it's not all that different. It's not like I'm like either I'm podcasting or I'm going to do fucking brain surgery. Like I'm going to pivot to the other. Generally in the same.
There's
sphere.
similar plates.
Another way to put that also is that in the 21st century economy, I can't remember who it was. This famous economist said, the people that are going to thrive in this ever-changing and rapidly changing world are those that can learn, unlearn, and relearn. And you've always got to be,
what's that?
Open-minded.
It sucks
and also be willing to relearn, right? Be willing to constantly change. I've had to confront that with social media, right?
Most people don't want to relearn, because once you fucking got something down to a science, you're like, fucking done.
It's comfortable.
But the willing to learn, fantastic. Willing to like let it go, that's difficult, because you build experience into something. You're like, well, all that time must have been worth something. It was for something. And sometimes it is, but the moment is fucking small. Yep. You can't stretch it out forever and stuff.
I think it's tough, too, because society, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a director, if you're an actor going to comedy, once you do something else, you go, oh, come on, man. We get it all the time. Stay in your lane. Like, no, you want that. You want me to stay in that lane. I don't want to be in that lane. I'm going to go over this lane.
Well, he's a nut. Well, he's a nut because he
redefine the lane. You just, I'm going to move. Those lanes on a bridge where sometimes you're traveling, you see that fucking, all of a sudden it goes from a 2-lane to a 4-lane highway for traffic. All you have to do is just like, all right, now this is the fucking lane.
Well, he's dealt with this as a comic, right? So the podcast becomes really, really successful. He starts another podcast, which becomes huge. So all of a sudden he's like, I don't know, man. Something about I'm talking. I know how to do this. And secretly he wanted to perform. He's always wanted to perform. And he kept talking about telling stories. And I was like, do you want to do stand up here? And finally when he admitted that to himself, but it's funny to see how many people, even comics, until they see him and the work he's putting in, everybody's reaction in any time you come into a new space is to be like, come on, man.
How long have you been doing comedy?
20 years now.
Okay, so you were around before most cats were doing. You're certainly around before I got into doing it. Like, I just appreciated comedy from the side. you've seen it change from like, oh, well, we all know what it is. You go up there and you stand up there and you say some shit, to now it's you can do almost anything in a comedy club except smoke weed.
Yes.
You go up on stage and say, I want to present this. I remember like years ago, me and Mosier, the guy I do Smodcast with, and that's a podcast just turned 10 years this old. 10 years old this year.
Dang,
so I've been doing it for a decade.
Yeah, you're like one of the originals.
When I started, it was, who was it? Leo Laporte had like This Week in Tech.
Was Marin around then?
No.
Nope.
No.
Really?
We predate. Adam still had a radio show. He did not have a podcast.
You predate Rogan. You predate Corolla and Marin.
Oh, so you're the original
Marin.
Godfather.
And Chris Hardwick. I don't know about Godfather. I like you know who it was? Adam Curry. He was the first one who did a podcast.
Who's that?
The old MTV host, Adam Curry.
Oh, yeah.
I never listened to it, but like he was the one that kind of invented the medium or something like that. When I heard about it, it was after the Ricky Gervais podcast. My friend Scott Mosier was like, have you heard the Ricky Gervais podcast? I was like, what is a podcast? And he goes, it's kind of like, he goes, you know the commentary tracks we do for the movies? I said, yeah. He goes, it's like that, but there's no movie. I was like, why the fuck don't we do one of these podcasts? So I got into it kind of early on just because I was like, nobody's stopping us. Like I used to drive past radio stations and be like, man, if I was rich one day, I would get myself my own radio station, my own antenna. And then I could say whatever the fuck I wanted and broadcast at any time of day, get up and broadcast and shit. Then all of a sudden somebody presented this notion of like, you can have that and it's universal. You don't even need to do it for just one.
And you own
city.
it. Like you don't have
and it's yours. And it can be whatever the fuck you want it to be.
Yeah.
So at one point Moj was like, I need money. He's like, how can we make money fast? And I was like, well, we've been doing Smodcast for about 2 years at home. And we used to joke about like, imagine if we did it on stage. And I was always on stage doing Q&A and shit. But Mosier couldn't get his head around like, who would want to watch two people fucking talk to each other in a comedy club?
And what's his background?
He was a producer, and now he's still a producer. Now he works at Illumination, the company that makes like Minions
all
and
that
shit
stuff,
like that. Yeah, he's working on something big.
Nice.
So when we went out, like it was weird. I was doing Q&A gigs, and I'd like played Carnegie Hall and stuff. So I was well established as like a guy standing there, essentially doing stand up, but needing the audience to ask me a question first. And then I told my booking agent, I was like, I want to go out and do a podcast. Like, and he said, okay. And came back and he goes, nobody understands it. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you can't go to a stand-up club and sit the fuck down with your friend and talk to him. Like, that's what you do in the audience.
That's not going to work.
I was like, but no, I think it'll work. And I got, like, I used to be ashamed of like I love doing Q&A, but people would be like, oh, you're like a comic, and I'm like, no man, comics don't need to ask the audience a question. Comics just go up, generate and shit like that. So I'd stay out of comedy clubs because I revere comics and comedy and stuff, and never considered myself one. And it was kind of confirmed when I was like, oh, I just want to go and talk to my friend. And like, you don't do that sort of thing. Like we did at the Improv, where me and Ralph do Babylon every fucking week.
And how long ago was your first show?
First one we did live, I guess now it's coming up on like 8.5, 9 years ago.
Damn, bro.
Jesus.
Wait, are you telling us all this because you want royalties?
I'm looking for a little. I want to wet my beak a little.
He's like, here's the thing.
Let me wet my beak.
I heard you guys doing all right. I'm going to need 10%.
I want a taste. Just a taste.
Just a taste.
But it is an example of
the optics of this look good, but the metrics are not in my favor. No, it was just like.
But you've been a groundbreaker. This is another example of you kind of doing shit that was always. I mean, I don't know.
It just never feels like groundbreaking. It's just like I just don't like. There's got to be another way. Like, you know,
you don't wait for permission.
Yeah, it's like, and that's the thing. And if you fucking wait for anyone to show up and say, here's the life you want, you will fucking die unhappy. Just go out and do it. And like, you know, just like in life, they say, you know, what is it? Like, don't ask permission, apologize instead.
No,
or something.
Don't ask permission, apologize later.
Or ask for forgiveness later.
There it is, or something like that. Like, I'm not saying go offend people in life or fucking ruin somebody else's day, but don't ask for somebody to give you permission to do the shit that you want to try, particularly because I guarantee you the shit you want to try is not like, you know, I want to split an atom. It's not dangerous for anybody. You know, it's just like, you're like, I've listened to these podcasts. I think that'd be fun. Fucking do it. I've seen a movie or two. I think I would like to do it. Fucking do it. I've seen these fighters fight. Like, I'm physical. I can size up a guy. I put my hand on a dude's back many times. Fucking do it.